a hot soldering iron and a clean tip, you'll need some solder. So I usually take some solder and I just roll off a chunk of it so I don't have to mess with that large spool. I get my solder lead out to where I can solder. I have some solder wick that I've purchased from a supply house. I like to keep it clean so that I have a clean tip off. Wire strippers and wire cutters is what you'll need. Now, on the CD4021, I've ordered quite a lot of them. I have quite a lot in supply. You may want to do the same. So, you also need a spare one of those if you're going to replace that. Okay? Now, I'm going to take the camera and zoom in closer so you can actually see what's going on. So I'm going to pause it here. Okay, kind of close quarters here, but that's fine. Lay the circuit board down. I'm going to show you first of all how to replace the cord, shorten and replace the cord. Make sure that your soldering iron is hot enough to melt the solder and clean enough to do so. Way to do that is to test it by applying some solder to the tip. Make sure that it melts the solder. Okay? What I normally do is I apply a little bit of solder here, and you can see that as you apply it, it real cleanly removes the solder, pulls the solder right off. Now when you get a regular Nintendo controller in, they won't have the wires going straight into here. There'll be a little crimp on the end of that you'll have to deal with, but that shouldn't be any problem. So then, these will just pull right out as you heat each one. Some of them will pull out without heating, others need to be heated to pull out. So now I've got them pulled out. Okay? Now, what we want to do is find the affected area. Let's say that the affected area, for argument's sake, would be right here where the bend occurs, and it's been moved back and forth, and it's broken there. You take your wire snips and snip just below the affected area, and take this bad part and throw it away. You then take your wire strippers and you want to strip back about 1.5 to 2 inches of clean wires. There's a small cloth reinforcement line in there that you don't need, so you clip that off, throw that part away, and that leaves the 5 leads that you will need in order to effect repair. Now, these wires are not ordinary wires. What they are is they're a wire with a cloth wrapped around fabric to give it extra strength and flexibility so it doesn't break. What I usually do is I strip back just a very small tip, probably 1/32 to a 1/16 of an inch. If you get this too small, it'll stretch the wire way out. So strip back just a little, about a 1/16. So now you've got them there. And what I like to do is form my little solder loop so that I can do direct soldering without having to worry about holding it. So I just tin. What you want to do is you want to tin the tops of each one of these wires. So make sure that it's straight, and then run a little solder along the top of it. So these are tinned now. So you have all 5 of them, and they're tinned. Get your circuit board, and it doesn't matter which one you start with. You can insert the red first of all, flip it over, and as you hold it with your finger, again I take my solder, form a little loop like that, and bend it down so that it'll touch the circuit board, and you don't need 3 hands that way. and solder enough to get a good connection. You don't have to necessarily cover the hole, but enough so that you get a good connection. And go back, now that I've got the red attached, we want to attach the yellow. I don't know if you can see that or not. So we'll move out of the way here. The yellow. That's the yellow, where it says yellow, obviously. Want brown next. Again, you don't have to do it in this order. Brown is now attached, and we have white and orange. Got both of them there, both at the same time. Got white and orange detached now. Okay, so you see that those are complete, and they've been attached in the proper order, and you've now hopefully solved the wire problem. Again, a proper way would be to make sure that you've fixed the problem is to take your voltmeter and ohm out the colors back to the color corresponding here. Okay. So I'm going to detach the little connector. Now I'm going to show you how to replace the 4021. Most of you already know how. So you can, the way that I've made this is you can fast forward through it. Get your desoldering wick, your solder wick, clip off some clean ends. Now this is such that you can almost do two leads at the same time. If your soldering iron is just proper, and this soldering iron is a 45 watt soldering iron. It's a Weller 45 watt. So I like to put it right between two and slide it up, and it cleans two out at the same time. Then move down to a clean piece of braid and move those up. The next one, move up. So move. You can actually do two at a time if you do it right. Don't hold it there too long. Actually, on a bad chip that you're pulling out, it really doesn't matter. Spin it around and repeat the process for the other side. Apply it, slide it in, and it'll remove the solder. Slide it in, slide it in, slide it in. Now, remove the solder from all of these leads. If you flip the chip over and you have a small screwdriver, I'm reaching for one here, sorry. You can insert the small screwdriver here and gently rock the chip up, and it'll just slide right out. Most circuit boards have written on it IC 4021, and note the notch at the end here. The notch corresponds on the chip to the bubble. You want pin 1 here. If you get it flipped around like that, it won't work. Note the notch and note where the new chip goes. Now the new chip's feet will be a little spread, so what you'll need to do is kind of squeeze it so it fits in. Now we've got it to fit in there. And now we're going to solder it back and put the new chip in. Now again with solder, this is a new chip. You don't want to get it really, really hot. Just put enough solder on there and do it quickly enough that you've made a good solder joint. I don't like that smoke blowing up in my face, so I blow it away. Not a good idea to breathe it anyway. Cleaning the tip often to keep it clean. The way you clean it is just put it in there and roll it. I don't know if you